Hola, bom dia. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show from expatsportugal.com. And on the right of the screen, the magnificent, the remarkable, the wonderful Andy, the Doc Thomson, live from Leiria this morning. Did you like that, Andy?
Lovely, Carl. Thank you so much. I've never had an introduction like it. And bom dia, alegria, todos de Leiria this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice round of applause for Andy the Doc. He does like a warm hand on his opening. So let's see who else is here this morning as well. Andrea Hogan is here. Good morning to you, Andrea. And Jersey. Well, I've got the pictures to prove that they went on a lovely Douro cruise. We'll pop those up a little bit later on. Hola, bon dia, Carl. In a few minutes, we're leaving for Coimbra. Wow, it's a whistle-stop tour of Portugal for Jersey, from New Jersey, now in Portugal. Having a little look around. I hope we can get together sometime this week for a coffee. Absolutely, Jersey. Sounds lovely to me. Perfect. Ella Linda, good morning, everyone. Hello, Ella. How are you? And Pilgrim Pods are in the house this morning as well. Hey, for sure. It's very familiar greeting there. That's a nice one, isn't it? We like that. Yes. Yeah. A little break from the Bom Dia Alegria there. Bom Dia Todos de Amsterdam. Oh, that reminds me, yeah, we got some Parabéns a Você action as well. A couple of birthdays in the community. Come back to those as well. And, of course, celebrating the Olympic victory, the highest record number of Olympic gongs, I think we can call them, for the Portuguese team as well. So we'll come back to that too. Matthias, yeah, good morning to you, mate, from Amsterdam. Did you guys get my email address yesterday, or do I need to put it here again today? Well, we're happy to be of service to you, Matthias, we're virtual PAs sharing people's details here. Only do that, folks, if you're happy for it to be on YouTube forever. Okay, bear that in mind. Anything you share in this environment is in a public place and will be immortalized on YouTube forever. Some people like that idea. I do. Others might think, oh, my goodness, my privacy, my privacy. Mark Stoll from Norfolk. Hola, bon dia to you, Mark. And Patricia Gorst. Good morning, all from Patricia. Good morning to you, Patricia. Bon dia, Carl. Doc. Hey, Ian Turner's here. Look, everybody. Finally free of the grandkids. This is the great grandparental privilege, isn't it, of being able to play with the kids, give them loads of sugar, get them nice and whizzy, spoil them, spoil yourself, and then give them back to the parents. I hope you had a great time with your grandkids. A few days of that. So enjoying the sunshine and a coffee. I guess, yeah, a little bit of a slump in the chair, right? Oh, thank goodness. Question. If the Gulf Stream collapses, what will happen to the weather in Portugal? Sorry, Ian, we just have to ignore that completely.
No, I can answer that.
Okay, all right, go on. Yes, it's the reason the Doc's here. If you're new to this, this is what we do. Ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. The Doc's here. He's just leaping on questions and eating them for breakfast, literally. What happens if the Gulf Stream collapses? Go on, Doc.
So if the Gulf Stream collapses, which is what a lot of people are concerned about, given the amount of cold water being poured into North Atlantic from the melting of the polar ice cap, and then we lose all the heat that comes up from the Caribbean into the North Atlantic, and actually is responsible for palm trees on the west coast of Scotland. But we will actually end up potentially with a new ice age. So anyone who's old enough to remember the film The Day After Tomorrow, that was totally predicated on the collapse of the Gulf Stream. So I don't think we'll be worried too much about the weather. What we'll be worried about is whether the advancing glaciers actually meet Portugal, or whether they stop around about the level of the Pyrenees.
Well, there's a cheery start to the show this morning. Thank you very much. I thought you were going to say if anyone remembers the movie Ice Age 1, Ice Age 2, and Ice Age 3. I remember those. They're great fun. But it's not going to be quite like that, is it? If there's another ice age, I suspect.
I think there's going to be. I think there'll be a very rapid shift of Portuguese population to the Azores and to Madeira until they close their airports and ports, probably.
They're not going to like that. I mean, I heard the other day that the Azores penal policy is to send their prisoners to the mainland, keeping the Azores nice and safe. I don't know if that's still the case. Donna Jacqueline told me that, and certainly it's true, I think, when she visited there. And the only person in the Portuguese prison of the autonomous region, that the Azores, was a homeless man who thought, this is quite nice. This is empty prison, free uniform, maybe 3 square meals a day. I don't know. But they send everybody over here to the mainland. But in the scenario you described, Doc, everyone will be heading that way. Or to the interior, I suspect, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know if we get glaciers coming down past the Pyrenees. Those mountain ranges were formed in the Ice Age. The ice sheet was several hundred meters thick. So I don't think the interior is going to be particularly helpful in terms of.
I thought there'd be another sort of weather phenomenon coming from the land mass of the continent that makes Costa del Branco so hot. But this is interesting, isn't it? That here we are. I never thought I'd be having conversations of this kind. If we rewind back to when we were kids, I'm thinking that if children are listening to the show and they're hearing old farts like us talking about the Gulf Stream collapsing, it's quite dismal, really, isn't it? If we whiz back to when we were maybe 10 years old, Andy, what would have been on the TV or the radio then? Was there some sort of existential threat that we managed to survive in those days, or were we just looking at mash makes smash, smash makes mash adverts and stuff like that, and not giving it a care about anything of this kind?
I think when I was 10, the biggest concern was whether we were going to end up with a 3-day week, and whether I was another 3-day week. I do remember the 3-day week, which I actually quite enjoyed. My father was home 2 more days a week, and there were bread shortages, so we learned to bake bread. No, seriously, we haven't had. The first existential threat I was aware of was mutually assured destruction with a nuclear deterrent. That was my first concern as a young child, probably as early teens.
Yes,
aware of that through CND.
And do you think we're past that? Interestingly.
Well, no, I think nuclear weapons haven't gone away. We've had mad dogs in charge of them. Thankfully, that one's left the White House. But there are nuclear weapons around in the former Eastern Bloc within countries which are potentially unstable. So.
Okay, and mutually assured destruction, MAD for short, of course. But the thing is to say about this, of course, is that these are theories, aren't they? And there is something I think we can balance the conversation with, which is the ingenuity of the human spirit and the wish, if I may speak on your behalf, Doc, the wish to survive and thrive and have a great life, which you exemplify so well. So we shouldn't forget that, I think. And that's easy to do, because if you do listen to the mainstream news agenda, obviously their business is in bringing you the worst news possible. That's how they make their money, isn't it? By sticking a few adverts for McDonald's or whatever in between, all the gloom and doom. But a lot of these things are as the set pieces of the mainstream media, and other great and happy lives are available. Let's live them, folks, as well, in a nice, balanced way. So interesting start to the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. Absolutely. And you will have heard there, Andy, ex-GP from the UK, will be able to address matters of a medical nature from his vast wisdom there. And there'll be a political twist as well from time to time, won't there? And I know you are this morning angry of Leria because of a piece of correspondence that dropped onto your doormat. Here we go, but possibly with a little bit of vaccination politics here, Andy. What happened to you?
Well, the only thing in my post box yesterday, my physical post box, my email box gets about 500 emails a day, but my physical post box, one A4 single-sided, obviously very cheaply produced anonymous letter in Portuguese.
Right.
A fair amount of words on this piece of A4, I didn't scan it and stick it through the auto translator, but I scanned it with my eyes and worked out what it was about. And it was entitled An Open Letter to the People of Portugal. It was anonymous. There was no one prepared to admit to being the publisher of this piece of garbage. It was dated the 24th of July, so clearly, while they have a mass distribution system, it wasn't quick enough to get it out in a timely manner. So it was two to 3 weeks out of date when it got here. And it was talking about the adverse reactions and death from the vaccine, of which there are some, obviously, and not an insignificant number. And there is if you go onto the European Drug Reactions website, you can look at that data. And none of that is something to be happy about. However, they pale into insignificance when you look at the death toll and the effects of long COVID and the social and economical and political effects of COVID. And it also repeated ridiculous claims of large amounts of oxidized graphene in the vaccines. And the terrible health consequences of oxidized graphene. Now, I'm not saying there are no health consequences of oxidized graphene, but first of all, Pfizer came out very strongly and said, this is rubbish. There is no oxidized graphene in our vaccine. The University of Almeria, which was quoted in this letter as the home of a unnamed professor who had apparently identified the presence of these particles and the harmful health effects. The University of Almeria in Spain disassociated themselves from this claim. And of course, although I haven't looked at the scientific basis behind the claim of oxidized graphene, if it does exist in these things being a health problem, oxidized graphene is just oxidized carbon. You breathe out oxidized carbon every time you breathe. It's called carbon dioxide. So my initial thoughts are, well, okay, there might be problems with oxidized graphene, but I haven't seen anyone saying what those are. And the other thing is, how many of these people who are complaining about the potential for particles of oxidized graphene in their injections are eschewing all forms of hydrocarbon-based public transport, electricity generation, and are eating pure organic, non-animal origin foods produced in a hermetically sealed environment. And if they're not, then they need to stop complaining about something which is considerably less risk. Rant over.
Okay. Disgusted of Leria there, Andy the Doc Thomson. A number of reasons why. I mean, I suppose, yeah, it is good to put a name to these things, isn't it? And for people to own their claims. But I suppose that they may say that they don't feel safe doing that at the moment. And for my money, which isn't a lot, I have to say, Doc, that's something to address, isn't it? I mean, you quite rightly take it on the chin there that there are side effects, as you would as a former medical man and somebody still with a current and keen medical interest. There are side effects and there are deaths as a result of this vaccine. We don't like to talk about that, and I think transparency on that would be great. As would the people who are I think they're called vaccine hesitants, aren't they? They're often characterized and. Because there is some bullying going on, without a doubt, isn't there? I think a lot of if we do characterize the discussion as pro and anti-vax, some pro-vaccine people aren't being very scientific and are just being bullying and saying, look, it's back to the old kill your grandma stuff, isn't it? If you don't do it, you're a selfish so-and-so. And all I think some vaccine hesitant people want to hear is like, okay, well, there are things that people are questioning that are ingredients in vaccines. Can we just not have a calm conversation about those, as I think you just did, and to talk about it? And I think that's really important. But instead, we see the likes of Will.i.am, some cheekily calling him Shill.i.am, setting up this great big gig, I think, with other musicians in America, calling on the governments of the world to give out free vaccines for the rest of the population. And it goes into that sort of PR stuff, isn't it? And no doubt these musicians are being paid and they're all part of the PR machinery. I think some simple discussions about, transparency discussions. What are the side effects? Who's dying? Why are they dying? And what are the ingredients? Why can't we just have simple conversations about that, do you think?
Ingredients are listed in the vaccine documents. You can get them online. You can do that research. These are claims of ingredients which are denied as existing by the manufacturers, and the only independent claim for the presence of those things have been actually. Okay, so Will Thompson's just all right. So you're right, absolutely 100%. We do need massive.
Let's just factor that in this morning. Oh yeah, Doc, morning. We're talking graphene oxide. It's been all over that. I've been all over that for 2 weeks. Graphene oxide, very different to oxide carbon. We don't know if it's in there yet. A lot of anecdotal stuff suggesting it might be. No proof yet. They have been researching graphene oxide for biological/medical applications for many years. We need mass spectrometry. When do we want mass spectrometry? When do we want it? To confirm, refute. Go on. Sorry, go on. Carry on.
All right. So yes, Will, we do need mass spectrometry to confirm or refute it. However, how many times do we take our food to an industrial analyzer in order to confirm that there is not something in there which is not listed on the ingredients list? Will, I take your point, but this is anecdotal, and the one so-called scientific source has been refuted by their institution. And yes, I understand that oxidized graphene is different to carbon dioxide, but I mean, that was used as my, just to show that actually graphene is only carbon, and it sounds very technical. It is very technical. It sounds scary. It shouldn't sound scary. And it was just to make it a bit more, not touchy-feely, but a bit more accessible to people who don't know what graphene is. And we have to understand that yes, if the claim is made, then someone independent ought to have a look at it and start to either refute or confirm that for public consumption. But again, I make the point that there are, we all the time, people smoke, people drink, people drive cars that pump particulate emissions out into the atmosphere and chemical emissions out into the atmosphere, which we breathe in every day, which cause immense harm all the time. Cancer from alcohol, cancer from smoking, cancer from diesel engines, cancer from eating meat, cancer from the chemicals that are used to grow our food. And so we do need to understand that everything is a matter of risks and benefits. You can increase your risk if if your benefit is that you enjoy drinking alcohol and smoking, then you take the risk of increasing your cancer and cirrhosis risk. I mean, that's just life, and I do that. I'm happy to drink, and I occasionally smoke, and I know the benefits, and I know that the benefits are psychological, and I know the physical risks, and it's a matter of ensuring that people know what those risks are. The problem is, Carl, as you just said, that people don't know what those risks are. They don't know why those potential adverse effects are happening. But as I said early on this year on this program, this is a mass experiment. We haven't been in this situation. We are in a massively challenging, threatening time that's come on us very quickly. and very rapidly. And yes, there were the signs there before, and yes, there were people warning before, but they were like the prophets crying in the wilderness. No one listened to them, no one publicized them. So for the vast majority of the population, this is brand new, and we have to accept that in order to find the best possible outcome, there will be, and I hate the phrase, but it's the easiest way of putting it, collateral damage.
Mm-hmm. And that's fair enough, isn't it? If that's known, and the problem I personally have with some of this and the PR kind of aspect of it, and will.i.am, prancing about, I got a feeling that you should just take the vaccine, etc. Is that there, it's kind of schmoozy in PR, and you would not guess at all that we are involved in a massive worldwide experiment, and that we do need more serious debate. And I don't think this should be slid past people, and the right to choose, of course, which I know you're a proponent of. Let's have adult, grown-up conversations, and let's let people choose as well, because this is tricky, isn't it? And we won't talk about this too much longer, folks, because we always come back to this. But and you would say, wouldn't you? You get the choice to drink or smoke. Maybe you don't with passive smoking, and you don't with exhaust fumes and so on that can be injurious to health. And I think it's right that people should have the choice whether to be vaccinated or not, given being treated intelligently and given the right information. And that's, I think, a concern for some people. And they didn't quite get it right when they wrote to you and dropped that spirit duplicator letter through your door the other day. That's these are extremes, aren't they, on the spectrum of discussion? Did they send that to you personally, do you think, or is that a Leiria wide campaign? Do you think?
I think it's more than Leiria wide. It was an open letter to the people of Portugal, so I suspect.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Chances are that everyone might get this over the course of the next few weeks. I can't imagine that some would be. It would be. I don't know what the word is, but I don't imagine that someone would entitle it as an open letter to people of Portugal and then just drop it through a few Lyrian letterboxes.
Yes, that wouldn't be a brilliant strategy, would it? They need to talk to their chief strategist on that one. And we'll probably come back to that in the comments, but just finally, if you are, and I think this comes up in the stifling of perhaps a more open debate, it kind of goes a bit underground like that, doesn't it? And a bit extreme, and people start daubing public buildings. I don't know if the recent one in
graffiti, but sorry.
Yes, the last warning on that is if it was done in a basement on a spirit duplicator, as much as you might like to sniff the letter when it comes through your letterbox, that's also dangerous, I suspect, as well. Doc and I cannot recommend you do that. Okay, so Nigel Henry's here. Good morning from Oxford. Hey, Nigel, how are you? Paul Williams, hola bon dia, from a warm and smiley. This one I struggle with a little bit. Peña Escozo. Let's go with that for now. Good afternoon, morning, Paul, and later. Good morning, good afternoon, actually, for MD, another MD here, Anwar Hussain. Whether that's their initials or they're actually a physician, we remains to be seen. Bon dia, Toros from Jim White. Hey, Jim. Looking forward to interviewing you soon about your wonderful book that you mentioned yesterday. Good morning. From Mini Camper Adventures to Matthias Maney. I think we're handling a lot of his personal correspondence these days. This is Tom Andrea from our mutual account. Yes, I took note of your email address yesterday. So the wonderful Tom and Andrea here as well, collectively as Mini Camper Adventures. I think that may well be a YouTube channel. Bon dia, beautiful people from Victoria. Hey, Victoria, how are you doing? How's the whole process going? Let us know. Bon dia from Stephen Wells. I think going back to the terrors of his childhood here. Yeah, here we go. Acid rain, hole in the ozone layer when I was a kid. We got those sorted. Questionably, I think we'll move on to whether that is true or not. But that would make an interesting coffee table book, wouldn't it? Things that terrified children throughout the ages. So we could go to the Victorians, the Romans, couldn't we, and see what the grown-ups was frightening the kids with at any age in history, which I'm sure is a perennial theme among human beings, as storytellers as we are. And we love this sort of narrative, don't we? The collective facing an existential threat. I think that's part of the lifeblood of human psychology. Bon dia de Ron and Kashkaish. Good morning to you, Ron. I think maybe Jim will have something to say about that, what I just mentioned. Nigel Henry. Oh, here we go. It's a very cheerful morning this morning. What about the next earthquake? My insurance for quake cover was huge in the Algarve, so I bought a 40-foot container. Right. There's some preparation for a possible earthquake. Now, I addressed this yesterday. I was talking to the wonderful people on the 6 o'clock call yesterday morning on the Expats Portugal plan, who are looking at how to move to Portugal and turbocharge their plans to get here. I was doing a thing about buying houses. And of the very real threat of earthquakes in Portugal, and I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll just look it up on the internet so that I can reassure them, because it comes up. So I think anything that comes up should be talked about openly, because that's a way of allaying fear, isn't it? And you and I, I'm sure, agree on that, Doc. So I thought, okay, I'll look up when the last earthquake was in Portugal, and it flipping said 6 days ago, but it was only a micro or a mini, I think they're called, on the Richter scale, seismic scale, in the Azores. And so these little rumbles are happening all the time, aren't they, on our particular seismic phenomenon?
We felt one a few months ago.
Yeah.
We actually felt one a few months ago. So they do happen reasonably regularly. But then I remember one that happened in the middle of Dudley when I was a junior doctor, and the hospital building shifted by a couple of feet by the feel of it.
Did you feel that, Bob? I think the earth moved there, Bob. well, and great. So all us, I think all of us who would claim to be lovers rather than fighters can always claim a bit of earthquake action, can't we? And literally say to our partners, "Did you feel the earth move there?" With a knowing look and glint in your eye. So you've got that to look forward to when you move to Portugal. I'm sure Doc uses that line. Evelyn Bronsfeld is here. Bon dia, the Patrão this morning. So suffice to say, earthquakes. Portuguese people are very kind of easygoing about earthquakes. There hasn't been a major one, I think, since 1969, which did cause some fatalities. And then the major historical earthquake of, I think, 1755 was it, from which the Marcos de Pombal made his name in regenerating Lisbon, basically. But yeah, it's something to be taken in your stride and something to be aware of with your house insurance, obviously, on a more mundane level. Thank you, Nigel, for including that. Alongside the collapse so this morning, the collapse of the Gulf Stream, earthquakes in Portugal, and vaccine battles. We got it all this morning. Let's see what else we can talk about on anything about Portugal. I grew up watching Captain Planet cartoons. I guess my generation is more than used to discussing ecological Armageddons. Yes, we grew up on that stuff. Never did us any harm. Frank's here. Bon dia, Senor Munson y Doctor Andy. Good morning to you, Frank. How are you, mate? How's the Algarve? Bon dia. Where we feel we've lost you to the Algarve. Bon dia from Antonio F. Hello, Antonio. Great to have you here. In Germany, I watched Captain Future, also a cartoon, but nothing to do with our environment or the planet. I wonder what that was about. Do you think that was sort of the EU project propaganda that Captain Future was telling the kids about, maybe? Or is that just wicked of me to say something like that? That hole is still there, I believe, although I heard it seems to be getting smaller. There you go. It's in the right direction. Lonnie McLaughlin is here. Hey, Lonnie. Carl, advice to live here for 1 month. Are wise words for anyone considering moving to Portugal. Okay, so there's some of our earlier advice. Come for a month and rather than a week or 2 weeks. Come for as long as you possibly can and are legally able. I will be settled in Porto by the end of the year, thanks to Expats Portugal. There's a lovely message from the wonderful Lonnie this morning. Thank you, Lonnie, for making time for us today. Greetings from Harrogate. Busy today preparing for the move. Marvellous, Paul. That's great. Matthias McLaughlin, congratulations. Not sure when I can move yet. We're doing everything we can to help you, Matthias, and your attendance has not gone unnoticed here in your preparations. Andy's here as well, the other Andy. Good morning, everyone, from him, the man who likes to sit on a stack. Morning, Andrew. So all the man cavers are saying hi. We've dealt with that. Will I am to will IT. Gary Austin, bon dia todos. Have hive mind question. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is a good one. Does anyone know where you dispose of old engine oil in Portugal? My car just seems to burn it into the atmosphere as a way of disposing of it. But what's the responsible way of doing this, Andy?
I've got no idea. That's a very good question. I would probably, I don't know. I won't be changing my own oil because I'm not capable. So I'll just take mine. I just have mine dealt with at the garage, but I have no idea.
Okay, all right. I'm just looking at a further comment down the line here. Horse meat is great. As if we couldn't get any more controversial this morning. Someone is a pro horse meat advocate here. Andy, sorry, Gary. We'll come back to that. I have seen. Obviously, there's cooking oil disposal. You'll see sometimes at these sort of collective type recycling facilities. I suspect there is a place in every major town that will accept engine oil in Portugal. And some people are even using it for their boilers, aren't they? I think as well. Some canny mechanics use the old oil to fire up some sort of oil-filled heating system, which is pretty smart. I'm not sure how environmentally friendly that is, but it's quite a good reuse. Try to test a couple of locations during that month, from Antonio to Lonnie. The best would be check those locations in winter and summer, to know their ups and downs. Very good advice, Antonio F. The 360-degree view of anywhere in Portugal should include the depths of winter and the heights of summer, because there's going to be a big difference between those two. Did you find that in Leiria, Andy? I mean, what is the annual differential in Leiria, for example? And while you're doing that, I need to go and just grab a charger, because I'm aware I can't show the photo. And so sing the praises of Leiria and show everyone your T-shirt.
Well, it doesn't say much about the extremes of weather, but it features the cathedral and the castle. It's a monochrome T-shirt, as you can all see. So there we are. But seasonal temperature variation. So we didn't have a lot of choice about where we came to live, because we had this education issue that this was the solution for. There is quite a wide variation based on my 12 months experience. We've had highs of 39 and lows of, we possibly got down to almost freezing during the winter. So that gave us an annual range of probably 38, 39 degrees over the last 12 months. But I didn't look at the historic differentials, because we had to come here. And so far, very happy. But I think, if you visited up in the north over the summer and were happy with the weather, you might find that in the winter things were a little different. And if you're looking for somewhere warm, you might want to experience that first.
Good advice. Good advice from Antonio and from you, Doc. And that's an interesting thing relating to the old paralysis by analysis, isn't it? For anybody with a completely blank slate moving to Portugal, it's actually quite a difficulty, isn't it? And it's almost good to have something like an immutable factor in there. And I do talk about this when suggesting where people might consider living, is if you've got some things that can't be changed in your plans, like children who need educating and you're going to be near a school, that actually really helps, doesn't it? Because if you have the whole country to choose from with no kind of immutable factors, it actually becomes quite a difficult thing to do. So if you've got kids who need to go to school, or you need to be working near somewhere, or you're definitely fixed on the beach, start with those things. Start with the things that are absolutely essential, that can't be changed, and it will narrow down the search. And if you talk to anybody who's got the whole country at their kind of choice, that actually becomes quite a curse for people, strangely enough. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Gary seems to be poo-pooing my claim of 39 degrees, but it's true.
Okay, we'll come to that. We'll challenge that formally in just a moment. Ingredients in food like horse meat in burgers, says Andy. Yeah, I mean, that would be quite a particular person who took a little sample of their food. No doubt there are people like, who was the very famous millionaire, Howard Hughes. That's the sort of thing he might do, isn't it? It's sort of, take a little bit of his food off the plate and get it analysed because he could and can afford to. And I think that would be a slightly weird thing if you were analysing some sample meals every week to find out how many dangerous things were in there. But Andy says that in Lisbon, but horse meat is great. Oh dear, says Matthias. Loved it when I still ate meat in abundance. Okay, and it's a cultural thing, obviously, isn't it? The whole thing about eating horses or not. It's just for people from Britain, it's a little bit unpalatable, literally, isn't it? But elsewhere in Europe, I think it's not such a big deal. I mean, I'm not going to ask you which is the strangest meat you've eaten, unless you do want to answer that question, Doc. But I think I'm sure you'd agree on the cultural point there. People can make the shift, can't they, very easily?
Yeah, they can. I mean, I'm vegetarian and have been for a long time, but I think the strangest meat I've eaten is probably pig's trotters.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting, isn't it? And chicken's feet are very popular too here in Portugal. And you would think, wouldn't you, that's going to be some tough old meat in a pig's trotter or a chicken's foot, given the amount of. Hopefully, it has touched the ground. I mean, that's the problem with meat, of course, is some of these things haven't even touched the ground or been in the open air. But yeah, an interesting habit. Both pig's trotter and chicken's feet. I'm alive and well. Not the meat. The habit is alive and well here in Portugal. I think sea slug for me, and I mean, that was just a kind of moment for me, and I think I'm very open-minded with food, but sea slug, sea cucumber, I really couldn't go there. Thomas Muller, but I had to. I was in mixed company. Gary, this is very helpful. There we go. So the waste, there we have it from the hive mind, as Gary predicted. Wasteapp.pt/home for your disposal of your unwanted oil there. I was happy till I started to watch this program. sorry about that, Paul. We will do our best to redeem that atmosphere. But as I said, we like a grown-up discussion from time to time. Sometimes that's a tricky subject or two. Yeah, that first claim by Spanish University was a mess. They hashed it all up, but the conspiracy army had a whale of a time with it, which is, I suspect, what we could have guessed would happen with that. Even the scientists presenting it couldn't differentiate between ratios and percentages. The conspiracy theory is not so much about toxicity, so much the properties of graphene oxide as a wonder material, biometrics, spintronics. Spintronics, a new one to me. Information storage, spintronics again, the Internet of Things stuff, really deep rabbit hole stuff that the World Economic Forum blata. He drifts off a little bit at the end of that comment, but we get the gist of that. And that's really connecting it to the kind of sticking bits of metal to your skin and 5G conversations that you occasionally see. There are lots of strange substances in injections or vaccines like aluminum, mercury, and formaldehyde, to name a few. Some of these are supposed to stop the body from expelling elements of the compound too quickly before they have achieved their objective. Roughly speaking, that's about right, isn't it, Doc, from your medical perspective?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Zay Barroso. Good morning, folks, to you. Good morning to you as well. Bon dia to you, Zay, if I may call you that. Hola, bon dia. I recently added an additional qualification to my bow, I think here. Hypnogastric. Well, I never. Just the training helped me look at things differently. Portugal, the well-being experience. Hold on a minute. So are you now qualified in fitting? Oh, the hypno one, not the actual one. So you believe you've got a gastric band and you can experience the results. Now, Doc Thomson, I'm guessing as an open-minded medic, you would see no problem with this. It's kind of the placebo effect in a way, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I haven't got any problem with that in terms of concept, but yeah.
And no surgery is needed, obviously, with this. And it would be, I guess what you're down to here, which is fascinating to me, is whether or not you can bypass the critical part of your mind and allow that work to have gone on a more subconscious level, to have yourself believe at some level that you have a gastric band and all the associated benefits that come from that. Capricorn 12, that is absolutely fascinating and obviously has applications for all kinds of things, such as, if going back to Paul Richards, if he believes himself happy now, he will be. I wonder if you would agree with that, Capricorn 12. Just think of the Algarve. People are leaping to Paul's aid here, hearing of his unhappiness, watching the show this morning. Just think of the Algarve, all those wonderful landscapes. We're doing our best to recondition your experience as we speak. Abel Pinheiro, what a wonderful name that is. Regarding Abel, you see there, thoughts become things. Words have power. If you were called Abel, that would be a great start in life, wouldn't it? Regarding the vaccine, we need to have some common sense and trust the experts. They are experts for a reason. Agree, Doc? I mean, some of the experts are. Yeah.
So look, why do we spend millions and millions, billions of pounds educating and paying, and some might say that experts are paid too much, but educating and paying these experts to do this work and find the right answers and give us advice if we're then going to tell them to toss their advice in the garbage?
Okay, I take your point. Take your point.
That's a big social question. We live in a society of differentiated skills, experience, and functions. And our society works by training some people to do one thing and some people to do another and some people to do something else. And if then instead of that, everyone is going to second guess those that we train to do a particular job, then that society will fall apart.
Yeah, I agree with you broadly, and as you may guess, would like to add, we do need to watch that money trail as well, though, don't we? Because we also live we live in a world of where, you know, our main, you know, literally our currency of communication is money, isn't it? It is how you could argue we've dealt with fear and trust by bringing money in. And that has ups and downs. That's made it very convenient to trust people, you know, who you don't know, possibly, because you can resort to money. But then we've got the other side of that conversation, haven't we, where money can get people to do some strange things at times because they're motivated by the reward rather than the truth, let's say. And, you know, so if I go back to, I'm giving will.i.am a bit of a pounding this morning, but I wonder if, you know, with celebrities and so on, and the celebrities are being drawn into this now, aren't they? If they weren't being paid, would they do? And I don't know, honestly, don't know if will.i.am is being paid massively or get some sort of financial reward. I know some celebrities are being paid to promote vaccination. You don't see many being paid not to, interestingly. And would that be okay? I mean, I think people would be up in arms, wouldn't they, if a celebrity got paid to say don't get vaccinated? That would cause a lot of trouble, and to some extent, understandably. And then you can extend that quite easily, can't you, into scientific research? You know, who benefits and to what level, and how much is that compromising the quality of their work, if you like, or the truth of their work, which I guess will be a perennial thing. I'm not expecting you to answer that right now, Doc. You might be pleased to know.
Well, I mean, Gary makes a very pertinent point and says depends who the experts work for. And actually, as you know, being a socialist, I would rather see the public ownership of knowledge and expertise rather than its concentration in private hands, because the concentration of knowledge in private hands leads to the sort of environment that you got when you had a theocracy, where actually, you know, the only people who had any knowledge were the priests and the church, and it wasn't all knowledge, but they used their monopoly on knowledge to be able to peddle not just truths, but where it suited them, untruths and just fairy tales in order to keep the population under control.
Bit of agenda going on there, right? And I'm sure that is going on in medicine and pharmaceuticals as well. And we need good checks and balances on that, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. What an interesting show it is this morning. Elra is saying, well, Carl, since it's such a cheerful morning, allow me to contribute. Portuguese usually say we get a big one every 300 years. Oh, stop it. Okay.
I'll be 90. I don't mind. It's all right.
Yeah, there's the other human motivator. I'm all right, Jack. Doc, what's your take on the deadly Marburg virus that's just, oh, goodness gracious, that's just started in West Africa?
Right, okay, so there's only one confirmed case. Right. There are only 4 contacts. Those 4 contacts are asymptomatic and under very close scrutiny. So, you know, it's something to be mildly concerned with, but it seems as if it seems as if the authorities have got it well under control. But
marvelous. There you go. This is in the variant area, isn't it, that people are rightly concerned about? And thank you for dealing with
Marburg. It's a totally different virus. It's a totally different.
Is it? Oh, okay. This is not a variant.
Totally, no. It's totally different.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to be including the Portuguese medal table before we finish today. That's some upside this morning. Doc, did you ever go to the Crooked House pub in the Blackhawk?
Yes.
Yes. Where you drunk before going in?
It was a fantastic building. I wish I had a picture. In fact, I might see if I can find one before the end of the show.
Marvelous. Okay. If you want to have an earthquake knowledge, watch a documentary about mega tsunami caused by landslides. More cheery info coming in. La Palma is cracked and going to slip into the Atlantic. They've predicted the wave patterns. Thank you for that. that cheery news just in to add to all the rest of it. Captain Future is a pulp science fiction hero, a space traveling scientist and adventurer, not a propagandist for the European Central Bank. Tamara Madeleine, bon dia de Lisboa. Good morning to you, Tamara. Californians are pretty easy going about earthquakes as well. Yes, people who learn to live with this do have a very different view, don't they? Loving life in Portugal. First visitor arrives in 10 days. Fantastic. Hola, bon dia. Yes, okay, great. That's wonderful to hear from you this morning. Well, settled in and welcoming visitors. How cool is that? Hold on a minute. 39 degrees. Oh, we were into a comment mountain here. Morning, Doc. What do you think about micro amounts of lithium for general mental health in certain mineral waters? I thought this is in vaccinations again, but this is just in the water, is it, lithium? And I know lithium is given, isn't it, as a kind of sedative to people in very extreme mental health situations.
So lithium is used to treat manic depression, bipolar disorder, that is not amenable to treatment anywhere else with anything else. So I think it works. I've prescribed it. It's very important for some people. So that's what I think of it. But I don't think putting it in the water is any better idea than mass fluoridization is necessarily a good idea.
Again, you don't really get a choice then, do you? I suppose you get a choice not to drink the water.
Well, yeah, or you live somewhere that doesn't put loads of fluoride in the water.
Well said. So there you go, Michelle. Take used oil to a garage or dealership as they get it collected. Okay, so your local mechanic might be open to that. Take them 1 bottle of oil, the used oil, and 1 bottle of wine for their trouble. That's my recommendation, and you'll make a friend forever. I would ask local camera where the recycling station is, or go to a car mechanic. Matthias agreeing there. Cooking oil, of course, can be used for biodiesel, and that lovely smell from the exhaust of donuts or chips that you can get, which is fantastic. Nothing wrong with horse meat. Just want to know what's in my food. Yes, everything in its right place. Pretty common to eat horse meat in Portugal, and it will be advertised as such, so no deceit. Very good. Good to know that. I have a question. It's all about the questions on Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, as the name suggests. What are your feelings on tipping? Is this fly tipping or tipping in restaurants? Let's find out. I had a guy tell me nobody should fly tip, by the way. It's not good because the workers will expect it, and we should not bring our toxic culture with us to Portugal. This is great. I do like this, and I do like to tip, I have to say. What's your view on this, Doc, as a socialist?
Right. So, to my mind, tipping tends to suppress the real wages because both employer and employee tend to accept that it's part of their remuneration for the job. Yeah. So I'm not in favour of tipping. That's not to say I don't do it very, very occasionally if something exceptional has happened, and I think I might have talked about sending a bouquet of flowers to the airline person who whisked my daughter down to the gate when I got there about 10 minutes before takeoff to deposit her on a. I wasn't going with her. She was 12, I think, at the time. But she whisked her down, grabbed the bag, whisked her down, and got her on the flight. So I sent her a bouquet of flowers. But just giving someone a few coppers out of your pocket because it's expected, it does just tend to hold down wages and makes people who don't feel like they can afford to tip feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, all of that is true, of course, isn't it? This is a seemingly sort of contradictory thing. I love tipping personally. I really like to do it, and I take on board what you're saying as well. Absolutely. It'd be interesting to know what other people make of that in the comments. So yes, and that's interesting what you've been told there, Tamara, as well. That it's a toxic culture. The worst of it, of course, is where those, I guess, a hustler culture. The first time I heard about this, I was really shocked that in America, some people buy their pitch upon which to make tips, and that's the only income they get. That to me does sound toxic, and that's an abdication, isn't it, of a responsibility perhaps of an employer. But then again, they're all grown-ups and they're going into it. It's a tricky one, and I'm sure we could talk for many hours, and I suspect we will do one of these days when we sit around a beer and do such things again, Doc. Gary Austin, I think he's taking issue with 39 degrees. Because that's a low temperature compared to...
Yeah, I realise that. By the way, I've sent you a link to a picture of the Crooked House.
Oh, good man. Okay. Is that via WhatsApp?
Yeah. Yeah,
because generally speaking, we tend to share things of a Portuguese nature, but here's a little bit of a Dudley culture for you this morning. We'll return to that, so don't go anywhere. We're going to show you a Crooked House in Dudley. I ate au fondue, camel, buffalo, and what other wonderful meats. So au fondue, I think that's probably in Lisbon, does it's like, if you're serving camel, do you say one hump or two to the diners there? Buffalo, sorry, had to be done. Buffalo as well. Okay, that's going to be like beef, really, isn't it? Gary Austin, there are old engine oil disposal areas all over town here in Portimao. The garbage disposal around us is very organized. You can separate all your garbage and dispose it individually. That's a full-time job, though, isn't it, Frank? Honestly. And what with all the bottles you take down there, you must be down there for hours doing all that stuff. I remember a big scandal here in the Netherlands when they did put horse meat in food and sold it as cow meat. Quite rightly, too. That should be a scandal. We need... The world needs more transparency, certainly in that particular department. But the issue is that the issue was that they used horse meat that did not meet health standards, I believe, and of not being honest. Yeah, not being honest. We humans struggle with that, rightly so. 39 degrees, and I might get my T-shirt off. Is that a challenge? I wonder. It does sound a bit like it, doesn't it? Like Gary standing on his patio, beating his chest, like bring it on, and I might take my shirt off. Same in the UK. Yeah, the honesty, meat honesty, we'll call that. Hashtag meat honesty. Tomorrow, it's not required to tip. However, every worker appreciates an extra, especially because it means you particularly enjoy the service. And that's the beautiful part of it, isn't it? Is to show your particular appreciation when you've got good service. And I guess you could call that being patronizing as well, literally on every level. I'd say tip should be a reward for good service, not an all-time situation. And I think people would generally agree with that, wouldn't they? Bisteca de Carvalho, I remember it was quite chewy. A horse meat review there from Frank, quite chewy. Thanks, Thomas, from Gary. I think we've sorted the oil disposal issue out there. Brilliant. In my birth area, Pfalz in Germany, there is a traditional dish called Saumagen, which is a filled pig stomach. Not unlike the old. It's haggis, isn't it? Come on, Scottish people have been doing that for years, Matthias. You and your false traditional dish. I agree with Antonio. Tip for a great service, as the service does really differ. Yep, absolutely. And exactly on all points, I was just taken aback with this person's anger towards it. His problem, absolutely. Good boundaries there, Tamara, good boundaries. No need to take it personally. Just receive it as information and know it's someone else's problem. Hypnosis, gastric band. Do they need to do super reinforcements? You might have a customer, Capricorn 12. Gary needs a reinforced gastric pad, possibly. Elra, Portuguese are usually a welcoming bunch, but we're also fiercely protective of our traditions and ways. Don't take it personally. Well said. Well said. Well, that's what we like. Only if the experts are not paid by the ones profiting from their experience. Not going too deep into this here. But yeah, good point, Matthias. And I think we kind of dipped into that, didn't we? It depends who the experts work for. Yep, same sort of thing. Experts should be able to discuss in open forums and not have one clearly money influenced narrative. Something has gone very wrong. I think many of us would agree with you, Will. The world's experts haven't come up with a single thing to suggest early outpatient treatment after a year and a half. Yeah, no. Okay, yes, good points there, Will. Paul, talking about money, 55 grand a week for kicking a ball about. That makes sense. We're trying to cheer you up, Paul, and you've gone to the dark side on your own there. It's like, and another thing. And what do you think of? Do you have a view on Messi's move to Paris? Lots of sadness in over in Barcelona, right?
Well, yeah, but people will go A, where the money is, and B, if they're bored somewhere, they're going to move. It's life. Get over it.
Okay, there you go. A very easy prescription from the doc there. Who first said Ivor was a good treatment? Was it an Ivor M producer? Just stirring it up a little bit there is Stephen. What the Health was a real eye-opening documentary I recently watched on Netflix. Yes, that sounds like a good one to watch alongside Fantastic Fungi. My current favorite, I have to say. And I like to think we, in our own little way here in this community, we are like little mycelium, and I mean that in a good way. Even government organizations. What? Doc, this cannot be true, can it?
Well, when you've got the lobbying culture that we've got in politics across the whole of the world, certainly across the Western world, it's not surprising that these organizations do not operate with the best intentions for the general population.
Yeah, and I think your man Tony Blair kind of opened up lobbying, didn't he, in the UK there, the old rascal. Bon dia, if I may refer to him loosely as a rascal. Bon dia to you all from Lynn and Zizanis, I'm going to go for there. Tamara Elrolinda, this was an isolated incident. This is a tipping gate back in Lisboa, I think. And I agree the Portuguese people are so kind, helpful, and really nice. I'm respectful of the culture, and that's why I asked. Love it all here. Brilliant. That's a nice ending to that particular thread this morning. We're all doomed. Doomed, I say. Gary, not missing an opportunity there. And anyone who's not familiar with that, we have a global audience, of course. We probably need to put up the picture of that character from Dad's Army, where light relief was dished out, and the context was life in England in the Second World War, and they made comedy of it in Dad's Army, and that was one of the characters who would say that, which we all laughed at the time. If an industry is funding the education, they will expect that the educated people will use their products. No surprise there. Otherwise, they would not do that. There you go. Tamara from Elra, glad you're enjoying it. She so is, like so many of us here. They're about to start filtering public water with, guess what?
Graphene, probably, I'd think. I mean, they already use activated charcoal to filter things. So graphene is a form of carbon, as is charcoal. So I'm not surprised they're going to filter public water with graphene, if that's the case.
I think that might run that particular conversation. It's just naturally in some mineral waters. Oh, lithium, some levels of lithium in mineral waters. And actually, yeah, not all mineral waters are born equal, are they? The wonderful Monchique water is a notably alkaline water here in Portugal. And it's very good, I think, for anyone who's feeling a bit, is the common phrase livery or acidic, who's had a bit of a night on the tiles, possibly. Some lovely Monchique water can be very good for the constitution. But seriously, you're right, Michelle. You can't assume that all mineral waters are the same. The compositions can vary massively, can't they? And I suspect they do in Portugal, for example.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yep. Here in the Netherlands, a GP has, I believe, 3 minutes per patient. Enough said, as sad as it is. I mean, you'll have your own experience of this GP life in England there, Doc. I imagine you challenge that at every possible turn.
Yeah, we used to complain that we had notionally 6 minutes per patient, but I used my staff to enable me to have more than that.
Brilliant. Oh, well done. And there's a model. There's a proactive solution and a model there from the doc when he was in practice. Frank simply says to Gary, come down to the Algarve, you'll feel better. This is a rivalry. Again, another thing that will run, the Portuguese rivalry. That's the same expectation as a call center. Not funny at all for the 3 minutes. Yes, no time to really listen to the patient and describing some pills as fast as possible. I guess the part of that, of course, is that we've outsourced listening to doctors, where we might expect that to come from other sources in society. But it's part of a good one of the symptoms of society there, if I may use that medical analogy. San Pellegrino is one with a bit of lithium in. You're damned if the drawer is not fitting to your situation. That sounds possibly like a German. What are those little phrases called? Idiom. That sounds like a German idiom, doesn't it? Your drawer is not fitting to your situation. Probably sounds great in German, that, or Dutch. Tipping, if it has been attentive and excellent service. Doesn't happen very often, says Nigel Henry. Oh, what makes you think I'm not feeling good here? I'm loving it more every day, actually, Frank. Okay, this needed to be said. Horse meat? Nay, not for me. What's going on? Oh, it's coming up to 10 o'clock. Doc, are you all right for a few more minutes?
Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I'm only off to the gym afterwards, so...
Well, I guess that you won't mind us delaying you for ages then. What's going on? Buffalo, horses, camel, experts say, guys, planet's in trouble. Response quick, eat all the big animals so the plants grow faster. I see. Yeah, eat meat sparingly and of good quality would be my little contribution to that. The dish is somewhat similar to the Scottish haggis. Oh, back to haggis. Dubious. Discuss, although the stuffing is quite different. I mean, that's a tricky one because you're never really sure, are you, what's in any of those things like faggots or haggis or anything like that. And quite rightly so in many ways. You know, there should be a disclaimer on that. We do not know what's in this. It was made by the Arvo at the back of the kitchen or something, or grandma or whatever, and she just put in whatever was available. You can't industrialize these things, I don't think. Carlos Ribeiro, hola do Matosinhos. So we've got a new man in Matosinhos now. Joel is a working fella. I'm missing him already, actually, but congratulations to you, Joel. Gary Austin, Dennis Skinner was right all along about Cameron. God bless him. Dennis Skinner, the beast of Bolsover, great political character. So trust the experts, even though lobbyist corruption stopped them from getting it right, like all the time. Well,
hey, what I was saying, I wasn't saying that's what we should do. I'm saying if we're going to have a society that runs on experts, we need to make sure that we follow those experts, but we also obviously need to be watching what they're being influenced by, etc., etc. So I understand exactly your point, Will, but we need to get this right. The answer is not to trash all experts. The answer is to find a way of making sure that the advice they're giving is unbiased and based on science and not on corruption and all the rest of it.
Well said, and very inclusive. I mean, we can't continue to live by negation, can we? Just sort of because something's bad, taking it away. You know, we need convergent paths here, don't we? People of different opinions need to find a way of coming together rather than cancelling each other out. This is to me essentially that is the cancel culture, isn't it? You kind of lose. Marginalizing, undermining people from the debate can't end well, even if you absolutely hate what they're saying. So where are we? Did we do that one? Yes, we did that one. Surely Andy says lobbying edges on the verge of blackmail and payoffs. Of course it does. And
it is. It's the definition of blackmail and payoffs.
There you go. The new dictionary definition of lobbying. That which edges on the verge of blackmail and payoffs. Well done, everybody. Government is always right, just like customer is always right. Both can be influenced. Nazik Hook, it's great because we have flushed a few people out this morning with comments who felt moved to say something. So thank you, Nazik, for that. Will Thompson, the world is burning. Might as well enjoy the bounties, be kind to one another, and get properly pickled while we're still around. There's the advice from a would-be elder in the form of Frank Devane there. Thank you very much for that, Frank. Of course, it is bribery, just in plain sight and with the consent of government. PB as well, speaking out this morning. Morning, Pete. But I'm 12 days off the grog. No more pickling for me now. I've been pickled enough, Frank. And actually, shout out to you, Will. I am, about 36 days into my unpickling adventure. And Will, I take my hat off to you. 12 days off the grog. Well done, mate. That sounds great work. And we can compare notes on what benefits that might be bringing. A question for Frank. Are you available this week? We are still road tripping. There you go. Frank, question for you. When you go to the doctor and walk in and ask him how he's doing, and he asks the same question back at you, and you say, "Oh, I'm fine, thanks, lol." Yes.
3 minutes is too long. Go, leave for your own. If you're fine, get out.
Yeah. Is that what you said, Doc? Enough about me. This is about you. You can lead a horse to water, but you're not supposed to make a lasagna out of it. Well, hey! Excellent. We've managed to bring levity to this somewhat serious edition of Ask Anything About Portugal on a Wednesday with the Doc here. Sausages, or not a lasagna, sausages, steak, or burgers. Stephen Wells, surely you had a Findus crisp. Oh man, the Findus crispy pancake. That sounds like something you might have in the Crooked House in Dudley. I like a shirkar on fries occasionally. Good effort, 12 days. Keep it up, Will. I can't say horse isn't tasty, but I'm biased towards horses. I can't say horse isn't tasty. Okay, but I'm biased. I would not eat it if I can avoid it. As cynical as that is when I eat other types of meat. Of course, there are the contradictions of meat eating and pet ownership. Morning. Sorry, I saw lots of live animals in a Monday market. I felt a little sad seeing all of them in small cages. Yep, I feel your pain there, Heidi. It is a difficult thing to see if you haven't grown up in the culture. May I ask if they are for keeping alive at home or for execution? I think it's both, Heidi, actually. As Frank will tell you, as one of his Monday appearances, the kindly old granny on the opposite where he used to live, I think came home with a live chicken with its head coming out of the shopping basket. That was not going to be kept on the balcony. That was for the pot. And so that does happen here. That is a real way of life. So a little bit of both. They are for execution, as you put it, and for keeping at home as well. Lovely to see our chickens this morning, laying eggs this morning as I went out to see them. Different noises in the valley this morning. They're picking the fruit here in the orchards on the hills of Caldash, and the very different atmosphere this morning. And some hardworking folks doing the back-breaking work of picking pears and apples off the trees over here in the Caldash hills. Spare them a thought. Seriously, these are some of the hardest working people in the world at the moment, aren't they, right now, picking the fruit and veg for our tables. And you can't give them a tip, really, can you? But we can lobby for their better treatment when we get the chance, because they are some of the hardest working and most lowly paid people, I think, around. Certainly here in Portugal. I don't know if that's true, if they are low paid. I suspect they are, but I'm sure somebody will be able to contribute on that matter. Okay, let's go to some photos, and also, yes, we've got the Crooked House to share as well, haven't we? You want to? Oh my goodness, yes, I see. This is going to bring back some memories. Before we go to the lovely photos you've been sharing with us, we must put this on the screen. Portugal. Do you have anything like this? I think you probably do. But this is in Dudley, a place in the Black Country. Is that right? Am I putting that right,
yeah.
Doc? Okay, yeah. The Black Country, a place called Dudley. There it is. Isn't that marvelous? As Garvo says, you feel drunk before you've even got into that building. And you've been there, Doc.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had a few pints in there on a few occasions. There's a bar there where if you put the marble, which slopes, it looks like it slopes downwards. And if you put the marble on what looks like the lower end, it actually rolls to the upper end.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a marvelous thing to do to your human perception, isn't it? And there you go. Horse and chips, possibly. Only kidding. I don't.
Sugar chips.
Sugar and chips there, the aforementioned specialty. I'm sure that's not true of the Crooked House. Thank you for that mention, Garvo. Let's have a look at some of the lovely photos. Oh, actually, I think it might be that Philomena has sent something in today. Birthday greetings for a couple of people. Debbie Burton in the Algarve, a legendary fundraiser for the Bombeiros down there. Happy birthday to you. Let's see if this works right now.
Parabéns a você nesta data querida, muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida.
And regular viewers, listeners will know that voice. Philomena, she'll be here on this Friday the 13th. We're talking about what goes on in Portugal on Friday the 13th, particularly in Porto Alegre, I believe. So Debbie Burton, parabéns a você to you. And also Luke Calero, putting this on the screen. He has started a new channel to go alongside their other one. And the problem I've got with this is I can't read how small that is. So I'm struggling to tell you about it. But Luke and Sarah's Off-Grid channel, people love. We had them on the show here, didn't we? And he started another one to go alongside it. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit bigger so I can read it, at least on my screen for you. He's built that goat house for €300. What does it say there? 3 weeks, 3 trees. My goodness, he's a alpha male, that man. But it's his birthday today. Luke Colero, happy birthday. Decided to start a new YouTube channel called Off-Gridding on a Shoestring. A lot of people will be interested in this. We still will be posting weekly episodes on our vloggy channel, Luke and Sarah's Off-Grid Life. The first video here, though, on this new channel is about how he built a goat house and a fence with 3 trees and €300 in about 3 weeks. So you can watch that. Parabéns a você, to you, Mr. Luke Calero, and to you, Debbie Burton, down there in the Algarve this morning. So a couple more photos to share. Jersey was in the Douro. We need to do more of this, don't we, Doc? This beautiful landscape, the Douro Valley. You have been there, haven't you? You've driven through that.
I drove through it on the way back in earlier this year, but we need to go there for a proper visit.
We blooming do, don't we? And there's Jersey, sat on the banks of the Douro, and Mr. and Mrs. Jersey in that picture. And I only say that because, forgive me, I do not know your name, Mrs. Jersey, but look at them. They're having a fabulous time on the banks of the Douro. And they do add, the pictures don't do it justice. The pictures look pretty awesome to me. Can you imagine what that's like in real life? And as you go further north, you something new to me, you experienced the Tibet of Portugal, I think they call it up there. The terraced landscapes are quite stunning. Not talked about very often. What else have we got for you on the picture deck this morning? A beautiful picture from Jacqueline CDM, set back in the hills a little bit on the Silver Coast here, looking down possibly on San Martinho de Porto or Foz there. Thank you very much for that, Jacqueline CDM. Over to Maria in Central Portugal, fundraiser. Reggae music, Jamaican food, rum punch, a fundraiser over there, the Certa Social fundraising event on your screen at the moment. Thank you for sending that in, Maria. Always happy to promote such things that are happening all around the country. Oh, I thought you'd ask me that. Have you been...
19th of August, there we go.
Let's make that a bit bigger on my screen so that we can do that. Have you been attracted there by the Jamaican food, possibly, Doc?
By the Jamaican, by the music, by the reggae, basically.
Reggae music as
and
well.
And the rum punch, but I will be driving back, so don't tell the GNR.
So all of it, out of many one people, the Jamaican pop-up restaurant fundraiser in Certa on the 19th of August at 1 p.m. and a fundraiser, I think, there for Quinta do Condesh Davel, which I don't know what that charity is about. Maybe Maria or somebody from that organization can come on and talk to us about it. Out of man, one people. What a lovely sentiment that is, and a great place to end on this somewhat interesting, in the Chinese way, interesting times, interesting content this morning on the show. And our grateful thanks to the Doc, who manfully faced it all this morning. And I foretold the future about how marvelous and magnificent you were, didn't I, as we entered the show? And I think that is true of you. You've proved yourself this morning.
Thank you, Carl. I've enjoyed it as always. Just everyone keep safe and keep cynical.
What's that in Latin? You know the answer to that. Fancy a meet up at lunchtime, boys? Yes, is the answer to that, isn't it, Doc? Big thanks to the Doc for his help with the Expats Portugal Forum. Oh, so you've been working hard in the forum as well, mate?
Only a couple of answers, but yeah, Jeff, no worries, mate. I'm glad you found that useful. It's a question about drug prices and which one in the database is the one you're going to get charged if you're an SNS user, and which one if you're not.
All right, Heidi, thankful for the reply we gave. Thanks, Doc, for your work on the forum, by the way. Hola, Carl and Doc, brilliant show. Got a poorly Fiona, and listening to your show has cheered her up. Oh, I'm so glad, given the rather shaky and dark start we had. Peter Bleach, anyone know where we can get a massive turkey execute? Oh, my goodness. I thought we'd rescued the show from doom and gloom. And here is someone looking for a massive turkey execution tunnel. As we often find, there just isn't one big enough. Pete, there just isn't one big enough bleach there. I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to leave that hanging. And sorry to use an execution reference there. I'm afraid to ask. What? No, don't encourage him. I believe I saw something at a YouTube channel, Farmer for Fun. Yeah, Joseph's probably your man for that, right, Pete? Can you get one made locally? Can you imagine asking for that if your Portuguese isn't very good? God only knows what you'll end up with. So ask, Farmer for Fun. Talking about turkey execution tunnels. This is the irony of the human world, isn't it? It not only tilts to one side, it leans backwards as well. What is he talking about there? Oh, the pub. Okay. I'm seeing Joseph today. We'll ask him, but not even his one is quite big enough. Ooh, carry on farming. I thought he was using it for turkeys as well. What a wonderful happy birthday. We practiced singing it. Luke's birthday bash today. Fantastic. Send him our love, and all the community here who love the pair of them over there, Luke and Sarah. Yes, it was thanks from Jeff to you. Top class show this morning. Cheers, Jerry. Jerry saying thank you. And thank you for the great show, Carl and Doc, from me and Tricia, Mrs. Jersey, of course, and from Michelle. Thanks for the show. Great job, Doc. I'll see you soon, mate. And I think we should take Gary up on that idea, shouldn't we? We'll see you soon, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow morning for a moving to Portugal special, as yet to be booked and confirmed. But join us on Thursday for Move to Portugal content. See you soon. Cheers, Doc. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.